Hey everybody, it's me Amanda with Once in a Wild, and welcome back to another Once in a Wild Wednesday, where each and every Wednesday evening we do our very best to go live at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we're happy to have you back on our live stream. If this is the first time that you've seen our live stream, you're going to get to see a really cool animal tonight, and my name is Amanda, and our company is called Once in a Wild, and we are actually a mobile zoo, which is based in San Antonio, Texas, and we can service San Antonio, of course, and surrounding cities, as well as Austin and other places too, in person. And we can also service anywhere via Zoom with a virtual Zoom room animal encounter too. We've got lots of different options for all sorts of different activities and different people, of course. And we've got all sorts of different animals as well. We've got birds, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates. So something for everybody. We conduct petting zoos, animal show and tells, where you get to learn a class about the animals, of course, and learn information. And you're always going to learn something with Once in a Wild anyway. And we also have options for photo ops, animal therapy, and even something we call a meet and greet. And tonight is going to be a lot of fun because we're actually going to address some frequently asked questions from our guests and from our fans and things like that. If you would like to add more questions to the mix, feel free to comment down below and ask me questions, or you can leave me a comment or compliment. I take all three of those, and it's going to be a lot of fun tonight. We are only going to be having one animal on the program. You can probably already hear him talking because he's giving himself away. He's supposed to be a surprise, but he is going to be really cool. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's try our very best to get started. All right, once again, welcome back for another Once in a Wild Wednesday, where we try to go live each and every Wednesday across social media. We're over on Instagram tonight as well. If you're viewing me over on Instagram, hello. If you guys have any questions, I'll do my very best to try to see your question, but the device I use to stream over on Instagram is kind of far away, but I'll do my very best. But over on the rest of social media, which includes Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn, all of those, you can actually see the questions that people are asking as I highlight them down below as well. So if you ask questions over there, I will do my best to highlight them, as long as they're family friendly. Of course, we want to make sure and do that because kids do watch our show and programs. But today we're going to discuss some different frequently asked questions about our animals, about our company, and things like that. But before we do, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys how you can help out. If you want to help out Once in a While, the very best way to do so is book your own animal program. That can be a classroom visit for a show and tell. That can be a meet and greet for things like parties, or that could be something like a daycare where there's little children. Meet and greets are a little more casual than a show and tell. We're actually going to talk about that here in a little bit because that's a very frequently asked question, is what type of programs we provide and what do they consist of and what do I expect and la 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 la. We are improving our website to actually explain all of that very soon as well. So hopefully that will answer your questions there if you visit our website, onceinawhild.com. But we also can have a petting zoo. Now that the weather's getting a little bit cooler outside, we probably will be doing a lot of petting zoos for the fall season and going into the beginning of winter. We have to make sure the weather is good for the animals, of course, which is another frequently asked question, which we will address tonight. And so on and so forth. We also do have Zoom capabilities too, as you may imagine. You can kind of imagine me doing a virtual program right here. I'm already doing one, which is our live stream that we do each and every Wednesday to the best of our ability. And if we don't go live, we actually post a rerun as well, which is another live stream. And there are many of those that you can actually view over on our YouTube and Facebook and all over the place, all across social media. And we do our best to save the live streams on Instagram too, so you can watch them again if you want to, or watch the ones you have missed in the past, because we know you have a life outside of Once in a Wild, and some people do watch them after the fact, and that is fine. But you can help us out by booking your own animal encounter, which is fantastic. All over the world, we can go virtual for you to have a private Zoom with the animals that you get to choose and learn about, and we can also come to you in person here in the South Texas area as well. And you get to choose the animals that you want to meet and what type of encounter you want to have. So if you're interested in all of that, you can let us know. Our number is scrolling down below on most of our social media, and over on Instagram, we have our number, of course, in the bio description, or you can visit onceinawhild.com to find our contact info. Just call or text. That's the best way to get a hold of us to find out more information on an animal program. But if you don't want to book an animal program right now, that is okay. You can actually donate to Once in a Wild by Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo. And we also have an Amazon wish list over on our website as well. And any little bit helps the animals, of course, to stay fed, to stay taken care of, and whatnot, just like any other animal company, right? So that helps us out quite a bit. But a free way to help us out is just by following us on social media. I already talked about the social medias where we are. We're also over on TikTok as well. We'll try to go live over there a little bit more often, but it's just been very busy. As you might imagine, it's hard to do all the things all the time. But we are over on TikTok too. There's a lot of fun videos over there. But we're all over the place otherwise. So following us or commenting or sharing social media posts, talking to your friends about us, leaving Google reviews. A five-star review is excellent for any small business or large business, and leaving a nice little compliment or comment on your positive experience with Once in a Wild. Another way to help us out is by taking photos of your event and tagging us in the photos on Instagram or otherwise. That way we can have a little bit of advertising for us, right? And people can see your experience, see how awesome it was, and then they get to see, oh, I really want that too. So that helps us to spread the word about what we do as well. Not just to help us out that way, but to also help our mission, which is to inspire others to make a difference through live animal experiences. So we want to make sure and kind of change the world around us, in your community, around you. Maybe you can talk to people about the animal facts that you've learned from us, and then that will help people appreciate animals and want to take care of them and not harm them and know that they're very, very important. So we try to teach about conservation of animals. We try to teach about all sorts of natural history and about the individual animals that we have. Many of our animals are also rehomed to us or secondhand or rescue animals as well. So we do provide a lot of homes for animals that need homes. And then a lot of our other animals are, kind of sought out purposefully for them being animal ambassadors. Of course, they're all animal ambassadors in some capacity, but every animal that comes to join us here at Once in a Wild and lives with us actually never has to worry about finding another home afterwards, because any animal that comes to live with us has a forever safe home with Once in a Wild. So that being said, we do have a lot of animals that need care, as you might imagine. So every little bit helps. And just by sharing a video or commenting or talking to your friends about us, that helps us to spread our mission and spread the word about our little zoo that we have. So we are a mobile zoo. We don't have currently a facility for you guys to visit, but we would love to have that in our long-term goals. As one of our long-term goals, very, very interested in doing that. So maybe someday with your help, because we rely on you guys for funding and things like that. Maybe with someday we can actually accomplish one of our goals, which is to have a visitable site where you guys can do tours and rent a space to have your own private parties or classes or whatever you would like. And hopefully that will happen someday in the future. Maybe we could have more space so we can have different types of animals we would love to help give a home to and things like that. So anyway, so here I am. If you've never seen me before, hello, my name is Amanda. I'm the founder and lead animal specialist here at Once in a Wild. And Ricky sometimes is on the show as well. He's my husband and co-founder and in charge of all of our marketing for Once in a Wild as well. And he also helps with animal events too. And we have other staff as well. We have other staff to help us out too. Maybe they'll be on the live stream sometime soon or on one of our more casual live streams or something like that. Maybe on TikTok or something like that. I would love to post some of that. But stay tuned. We are growing and changing all the time, as most small businesses do. And tonight, I thought I would address, like I said before, some of the most frequently asked questions that we get about our company. But before we get into the questions, I want to make sure to have an animal on the show. So I am going to step aside very briefly and retrieve our one animal that's going to be visiting us today, or visiting with me, I guess, visiting you guys. And he is kind of a frequently requested animal. He's super duper impressive, if I do say so myself. Everybody loves him. It's actually going to be one of our only owl that we have right now. It's our owl. His name is Rango. He's a Eurasian Eagle Owl. Can you hear him hooting already? You can probably hear him. I'm going to make sure we're all in focus as well. We focused. I'm going to step aside and actually retrieve our owl. Just takes a couple of seconds. And for most of also our social media, I'm going to put up a just a little bit of a intermission slide here, so that way you know I'll be right back. And for Instagram, you'll just have to hang out and wait for me to come back, and I'll be right back. everybody, we're back. We went to retrieve our owl, or I did rather. Me and Rango together went to go get all situated here. So when we retrieve the owl, I have to get him out of his kennel, obviously, and he's wearing all this equipment. So I'm just going to get his leash attached here. It's already attached, but rolled up for me real quick. I don't think this little thing here is going to be necessary. There we go. I want him to be in the shot, and it looks like he's too tall if I hold him there. So we're going to do this. You know, I prepare as best I can for you guys, and then sometimes things just don't work the way you plan it, and that is okay, right? We'll work on our levels next time. I don't want to scare him. I just have like a little extra kind of arm rest right there, but if I put my arm there, you're not going to be able to see him, so we're going to nix that. So this is Rango. He's a Eurasian Eagle Owl. And this is actually one of the largest species of owl in the world. They are only found in Europe and Asia and North Africa. They're not found in the United States of America or anywhere in the Americas, and not found in Australia, but found throughout all those other places I just listed. So they're actually pretty widespread in their neck of the woods, right? And they're a very impressive, large owl species. However, they're not super heavy. So most birds that fly around are going to be pretty lightweight. And that is so they can fly, right? Flying is determined on your weight and, of course, your abilities, right? And your physical, what is the word? Adaptations as a bird, right? But you have to be lightweight enough to be able to get up off the ground. So in order to do that, you need to be built differently. So even though he looks pretty large, he actually isn't very heavy. He only weighs 4.5 pounds. Now that is actually pretty heavy for a flying bird. The heaviest flying bird in the entire world is a very large bird called a curry mustard. And that is an African species that lives on the ground primarily, but they can fly up into trees and fly around a little bit. And they, 40 pounds isn't super big. Like if you think about like a 40-pound dog, that's not a very big dog, is it? Compared to like other breeds of dogs that can get a lot bigger. I'm gonna tilt my camera up just a little bit more so you can see them. Instagram, I think you guys are getting the best shot because there we go. Everybody else can see him a little bit better. You are totally fine. Now, Rango's been in the studio many, many times. He's acting like he's never seen it before, which is something that sometimes wild animals do, right? They still have choices to make and they still might act certain ways. And we just do our best. He is absolutely not a domestic animal and he is not a pet. Owls are beautiful. They're wonderful, but they do not make good pets for like the average person, nor anyone, in my opinion. So he's what we call an animal ambassador. He is a wild animal that has been hand-raised for the purpose of education. A lot of other raptors, owls, eagles, hawks, falcons that you see in zoos or in animal programs where they come out and teach you about the animal and hold them, they're trained and things like that. A lot of those animals are actually injured rehab birds as well. So it just kind of depends. Now he was actually hand-raised by another person and bred somewhere else. And then we got to adopt him about a year ago. It's going to be about a year ago now in November. Well, I'm kind of skipping ahead, but it will be a year in November. We've had him for a while now, but not forever. And we didn't hand raise him. He's going to be 8 in November, as far as I remember his birthday being around November. But anyway, so he's still a wild animal, even though he was hand-raised. That doesn't make him a domestic. Domestic animals are a totally different species than their wild cousins anymore. And they are, you know, bred over thousands of years most of the time to be domestic. Whereas this is still a wild animal. He's just trained and hand-raised from hatching to be a little bit more used to things than his wild cousins out there living in, you know, on their own, things like that. But Rango is, like I said, he's going to be 8 years old this next winter. And that is very young for the species. These guys can actually live into their 60s in human care. That would be extremely old, but it can happen. 40s, super easy. 50s, definitely, and 60s sometimes. So he's still very young, only 8 years old, or going to be 8 years old. So that is very cool. Got a long life ahead of him. He's so beautiful. This type of owl is one of the top predators in their natural environment. They are going to be an animal that can eat things as big as small deer and small pigs in their area, depending on the size of those, right? And they can hunt lots of different animals all the way under that size sheep. They can hunt snakes. They can hunt other birds. Mammals, of course, happen to be some of their favorites, but they're one of the few type of raptors that eats other raptors, right? So the bigger the raptors, I'm talking about birds of prey, the bigger the raptor, the more they go after other birds. like themselves. So owls, yes, eat other owls sometimes. They may not eat 100% their same species, though they might sometimes, but they might eat slightly smaller or, of course, even smaller species than that. So, for example, barn owls, they definitely eat barn owls. Barn owls are eaten by other owls a lot, actually, because they're out at the same time, typically, being a nocturnal animal. Oh, you're so cute when you hoot. That hoot was really cute. They are typically nocturnal. Owls are, right? There's a few that are not nocturnal, but most of them are mostly active at night or active at dawn and dusk. So by default, they're going to be out at the same time as other owls, right? And that's going to put them as one of the main predators of other owls. That makes sense. So you're going to eat all kinds of stuff in the wild. Here in human care, his favorite thing happens to be rats and anything with white fur. He's very used to eating white-furred mice and rats and things like that. It takes a lot of mice to get him his full meal, but he can eat mice. But rat is more often fed to him because of, it's bigger. And he's a big animal, so he has to eat around 100 grams a day, more or less. We do weigh him periodically to make sure he's getting enough food and that he's a healthy weight. We want him to be a healthy weight, but also a motivated weight. So we don't want him to be like too chunky or overweight, because otherwise he won't really want to work. And that's just how most birds operate, right? Also, being too chunky is not healthy. Yes, indeed. I'm actually going to hold him a little bit more comfortable for me this way. He will probably still look around so you guys can see his head. I'm going to move this too. Hopefully he'll be okay with that. There we go. That's very, very good. So for owls, when you train and work with them, a lot of times the little things like little sounds can bother them, and you never know what's really going to upset them. And again, he's a wild animal, so you never know. He could choose to do something silly, like try to fly away. He is absolutely not able to fly away right now because he's on equipment. So when you work birds of prey, they can wear falconry equipment like anklets and jesses and a leash to keep them safe. That's going to keep him with me and not flying around the studio to hurt himself, right? Or to hurt anyone, especially when we do like school programs or something like that. He's not going to be able to fly on somebody's head with all of his talons and hurt somebody, but mostly to keep him safe from hurting himself. So we're just going to keep an eye and make sure that he is nice and comfortable to the best that we can. But sometimes owls and other animals make choices, especially wild animals, right? But anyway, so he's a Eurasian Eagle Owl. These guys, again, are one of the top predators in their natural environment. Europe, Asia, North Africa. They can hunt all kinds of medium and small type animals, including other owls, other birds. They eat all sorts of things. And they typically hunt every single night as long as there's not like a thunderstorm or some sort of crazy weather going on. Owls have very soft feathers, which helps them to be quiet when they fly. But also a trade-off for that is going to be not being waterproof. So if there's a lot of rain, they're not going to have a great time being wet because they're super duper not waterproof. They'll just be kind of soaked. Imagine a wet cat. That's what they look like when they're wet. So their feathers are not waterproof like a duck, or even as waterproof as like a falcon. A falcon has more waterproofing, and a parrot, for example, all kinds of birds have more ability to stay a little bit more sleek, and water rolls right off of them. They enjoy the water. These guys don't really enjoy the water that much. So they kind of avoid it when they can. And since this is a very large owl, they don't have a lot of luck with living in or sleeping inside of hollow spaces, like a hollow tree or a cave or whatever. They might be able to find a cave that fits them. But some of the time, these guys will just kind of sit in the trees and deal with the weather and just wait to dry off, and that's when they'll go hunt the next time. So a lot of times you'll see more raptors, birds of prey, out in your natural environment and their natural environment around you, after a storm. You'll see a lot of them hunting after a storm. And that goes for animals in general, because most animals don't enjoy hunting in a storm unless they're like alligators, right? And they live in the water, or fish, right? Most animals that fly will kind of avoid that because it's dangerous for them to fly around, and there may not be as much prey out anyway. But then the day after a storm, if it's a beautiful day out, you will see a lot of raptors actually flying around the next day. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, these guys are wonderful. He is super popular for our animal programs. I don't blame people at all for requesting him. He is a great animal ambassador. Even though he's a wild animal, he's very good at his job. His job is to sit here on my glove and look beautiful and allow people to learn about him. There's so much to learn about owls. Let me know if you guys have any questions about the owl as we go on with the live stream, and I will do my very best to go ahead. Yes, we are live. We certainly are. And I will do my very best to answer your questions as you have them. But I am going to actually address some of our frequently asked questions about the company here in a little bit. But owls, there's so many cool facts to learn about them. Some of my favorite things to teach the kids about owls and to teach the adults about owls is their senses. So at night, they're going to be hunting in the dark, right? So most of your nocturnal owls, they need to be able to see and hear very well in order to find their food, which is typically moving around or at least alive, right? They're not super into scavenging, although they can scavenge like a vulture can, but vultures only eat dead stuff, right? And owls hunt living things, living animals. So they need to be able to spot them in the dark. So having excellent vision at night is a very, very big plus for these animals hunting in the nighttime. So great vision. He can see easily 300 feet away. That's 100 yards, and still read fine print on a newspaper or a penny in the darkness. They just need a little bit of moonlight or a couple candles in that space to be able to see far away like that. That's very impressive. And they can still read the fine print on a penny and see the date and everything. They may not understand what they're reading, right? Because they're owls and not human, but they can still see the head on the penny, Lincoln's head, and they can see the numbers very, very sharply, which is amazing. And that's 100 yards away or 300 feet away. And they can also hear very well too. They hear extremely well. They can easily hear far away. And they actually can hear things as small as a mouse's heartbeat beating, even if they're like underground and stuff like that. So they can hear all of that. And their ears happen to be lopsided. They have one ear up high and one ear down low. And that's actually going to help them to triangulate sound. If they want to triangulate noises, they can bob their head around. Usually owls will kind of move their head around. Lots of birds have a lot of neck and head movement, but owls use that to triangulate noise. They'll kind of like bob their head around like this. And they'll kind of be listening around for different noises to kind of pinpoint where sounds are coming from. And then they can kind of figure out where they're supposed to go fly and grab the animal. When they do fly, they're not super fast for a bird of prey. They're typically on the slower side. This species flies about 25 to 30 miles an hour at top speed. And they don't need to be fast though, because their feathers are super soft and even frayed. And that helps them to actually mute or muffle sound as they fly. So they're nearly silent when they flap their wings, unlike other birds, which actually make a lot of noise when they flap their wings, but most birds are a lot faster, right? So you're either fast and noisy or you're slow and silent. And that's what helps an owl to actually find their food and, well, not find it, but catch their food is to fly over silently. And of course, when they pick up their food, they're going to grab it with their feet, not their face. They're going to pick it up with their talons. They're at least going to clamp on with their talons. They may choose to just eat the animal if it's too heavy on the ground. They can still kill the animal, but they can eat it on the ground if it's something large, or they can take it away with them to the tree or somewhere safe to munch on it at their leisure, right? Typically, owls will eat something that they can either tear up easily or swallow whole, but this species of owl, since they're so large, they can hunt larger prey, so they can eat something large and tear it right up. For example, other birds. Birds are really easy to tear up for them because they're eating something that is, if you've ever like prepared a chicken or something like that, you can actually, not to be morbid, but you can see how easily that would be much easier to tear up than say like a large mammal or something like that. So they tend to hunt a lot of birds. It's easier for them to eat and whatnot. Like I said, Rango's favorite food tends to be rats and mice, but he also eats chicken, sometimes chicks with the feathers and everything, sometimes quail, all sorts of different things, chicken hearts. He's got a wide variety of things that he eats. And after owls eat, especially in nature, when they're eating everything on the animal, including fur and bones and everything else, they're actually going to spit up an owl pellet or a pellet. It's called a cast. That's the proper term for it. And they will actually spit that up every single day to get rid of the fur feathers or bones, because their digestive system cannot actually digest those things. That is all processed inside of the gizzard and then spit up before the rest of the digestion takes place. So they will not be able to digest bones, feathers, and fur and other things like that. And they will actually spit up a pellet. But did you know that all birds of prey actually do this? All birds of prey cannot digest those things either, so they spit up a pellet too. Owls, for some reason, are just the famous ones. And that is how we can actually learn and study what they eat in the wild. We can see what kind of bones and what kind of feathers and fur come out of a pellet and kind of analyze what an owl's been hunting. We can study them that way, right? You probably have heard of an owl pellet before. It's very famous. So that's some things about owls. If you guys have any questions about the owl, feel free to ask me, or about Rango in particular. He is a Eurasian Eagle Owl. Again, one of the largest in the world, but females are almost twice the size of a male. He weighs about 4.5 pounds. Males can weigh up to 5 or 6 pounds, and a big female can weigh up to 10 pounds. That is the record for this species. That would be extremely large. But especially if they're carrying babies inside of them, they can weigh quite a bit. They do lay eggs, of course, so that would be... Yes. You're very chatty today. They do hoot, as you just heard. This owl makes several different types of noises and calls, and this is one of the owls that actually do hoot. Now, if you are a fellow person that lives in the United States or in North America in general, maybe Canada, something like that, you hear a hooting owl that sounds like this, you're probably listening to a great horned owl, which is the close cousin of the Eurasian Eagle Owl. And this is like the larger foreign cousin of our great horned owls. They're both in the horned owl family. And they do have these beautiful ear tufts on top of their head, which look kind of like ears of a mammal, right? They're not ears at all. They're just eyebrows. They can give him expression, a little bit of breakage of his silhouette in the trees to help him camouflage a little bit as well. They're not ears at all, though. They're just little feathers that are very pretty on top of his head, but they call them the horned owls because they kind of look like horns a little bit, and that's why they get their name. But yeah, so let's address some of these questions. I'm so glad to see some of our viewers online with us. If you're out there, let me know. Say hello, ask a question, leave a compliment or comment. I love all of that. So let's go ahead and answer some of these FAQs. Tonight we're learning about some questions that I often get asked or that the company gets asked. Could be about the company once in a while, or could be about the animal. So let's just see what we got here. We got several of them to go over. Yeah, I think I'm just going to do them all, since we just have the one animal tonight. So Rango's with us. He's here for emotional support and to look beautiful on the animal program. I hope you don't mind. So some FAQs. I'm just going to go in no particular order of importance or of frequency. I'm just going to go with how I've written them. So I hope you don't mind. So this says, how many guests can attend a once in a wild event? So that's a great question. So our events definitely vary. We can have as little as 1 or 2 people to hundreds. So it just kind of depends. If you're an event planner, for example, or if you are a company owner, and you are having a big event, and say it's going to be for hours and hours, like 4 hours long or 6 hours long, then I would recommend something like maybe like a petting zoo where we can set up our animal pen and we can let families take turns entering the pen with the animals, just like how you would imagine a petting zoo traditionally, right? We wouldn't have everybody in there at the same time, but it would be like forming a line situation, taking turns, maybe like 3 to 4 people are taking turns inside the pen, and then they get to pet the animals, take pictures with them if they want to. They can interact with them closely. It's very, very safe for all ages. The animals actually that are included with that are going to be our Pekin ducks, our guinea pigs, our Flemish giant rabbit, tortoises, and a bearded dragon. That's like the main 5 that come with that encounter, and then you can kind of build from there if you want to do a petting zoo plus, which is a different encounter price. That's going to be like a petting zoo with extra animals too. We'll get to there in a minute. But that's something I recommend for something with lots and lots of people, where it's going to be kind of like a festival situation or a big multi-hour event, if you will. Now, petting zoos are highly recommended for only outside. That is because of the mess that they can come with, because we have things like ducks and even tortoises and some other animals like rabbits and guinea pigs that do go to the bathroom quite a bit. So having it out on the grass is ideal, or some sort of absorbent situation with substrate, right? So grass is the best because grass is nice and safe. If somebody maybe like takes a little stumble and falls over, the kiddos, especially little kiddos, tend to be a little bit clumsy, of course. So if anybody trips and falls, the grass is very safe. And also for the animal safety too, in case an animal, maybe one of us is picking the animal up and accidentally one of them jumps down out of our hand or something. That way it's nice and safe. We don't want to be like on concrete or anything like that for lack of absorbency, right? And also for safety. We want to make sure everybody's nice and safe. That's why playgrounds usually have gravel or grass or sand. That way if a kiddo falls down, playground accidents happen. That way it's not like solid floor, right? Does that make sense? So that's what I recommend for big festivals and things like that. If it needs to be something inside, which we do conduct a lot of indoor multi-hour events, no problem. You can have something like a meet and greet, which can be some of the same animals that are included with the petting zoo, minus the ducks because they're way too messy indoors. They do go to the bathroom quite a bit and it's super messy. So those are only outdoors, but the rest of the animals I listed, the bearded dragon, tortoises, rabbit, and guinea pigs can all be set up indoors. And a meet and greet is something where we usually set up on tabletops with either petable animals or certainly approachable animals or photo op animals to come over and see, either on the tables themselves, on display tables, or being held by the presenters or animal handlers. That way you can come on over, see them up close, take pictures, pet if appropriate, if there's like petable animals there, like the rabbit, for example. and that is a meet and greet as opposed to a petting zoo. So those are the two I recommend for multi-hour events where you just have like tons and tons of people. If we do a show and tell, which is more of a formal presentation where you're learning about the animals as they are presented one by one, that's kind of like a class, right? So we do recommend that it be about 40 people or less. And sometimes we do make exceptions just depending on the event, but that's always a case by case basis. And then if you have something like a small birthday party where maybe you have like 30 people or 20 people, really any of those encounters can be done at your party. We can do a meet and greet, we can do a show and tell for some of the older kiddos and adults, of course, or we can do a petting zoo. It just kind of depends on your situation. Every encounter is customizable if you want to customize it. You can mix and match and have different encounters at your multi-hour event if you want to. Just let us know and we can help you out. But that's like kind of the gist of it. So for a show and tell, that's going to require a little bit of a smaller grouping just because it's not going to be as interactive. However, I certainly have done show and tells or animal presentations for lots more people than 40, and that is fine. If we have an assembly where it's going to be 100 people, I can certainly do a presentation for 100 people. We just need to have a microphone involved and maybe somewhere for them to sit down, like in a stadium or a stage situation with chairs, things like that. But most of the time, I'm doing show and tells for classrooms or libraries where it's going to be around 40 people, more or less. But you let us know. We're very flexible. That's just what we recommend, of course. But I mean, if you have a ton of people or a small amount of people, I think we are something for everyone, and we can certainly adjust to those numbers as we go, right? So everything is going to be just for you. Oh my gosh, the sloth. Is that a sloth? What is that? What emoji is that? I'm trying to see. I cannot see. It's really cute, whatever it is. You tell me. Okay, so how about another question? Okay, what happens if you book an encounter? You squeeze on my finger just a little bit too tightly right here. I'm going to adjust a little bit. Oh my goodness, I made you adjust. How dare I? So these next question is going to be, what happens if I make an appointment, have an encounter, and I need to cancel my encounter? So that's a great question because life happens, right? So this most frequently happens with birthday parties or small bookings like that. I say small bookings, but like, you know, family gatherings, things like that. Say you need to change your date, or say you need to, somebody gets sick and you need to cancel, or maybe you just need, maybe the weather's really bad, etc. So if the weather's bad, we can certainly adjust. So say you have a petting zoo encounter booked and it's going to be outside, right? For the petting zoo, we need to have a little bit cooler weather. So during the summer, that's a big challenge, right? Because it's so hot here in South Texas. We have been doing a lot less petting zoos because of that, but we can conduct them early in the morning before it reaches, 150 degrees out here, it feels like. We could probably do them at like 8 or 9 a.m., but beyond 10 a.m., to be honest with you, it's about 100 degrees lately. So it hasn't been great for the animals. So we've been having far less of those, or we can do them very late in the evening, maybe with fans blowing on us. There's things called portacools that blow air and water on you and makes it a lot cooler. But we try to minimize those as much as possible in the summertime because it's just way too hot. It's actually super dangerous for humans too, right? But if you have, say you booked a springtime event and it's an outdoor petting zoo and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it's going to be thundering and lightning and we need to move inside, we can certainly adjust. If you don't want to cancel your event, great. You want to be inside, you want to have the assembly indoors, say it's a school or a church or something like that, we can certainly do like a meet and greet instead. Like I just said. So we can have a meet and greet instead of a petting zoo. So we always keep an eye on the weather. I am a former traditional zookeeper, so I'm very good at watching the weather. When we take care of animals in general, when you have any sort of animal job, it could be working with horses or anything outside, you get used to checking the weather. So we definitely do that quite frequently when you're an events company, weddings, anything like that. Certainly we keep a good habit of checking the weather, especially right before, like the couple days before your appointment. So if the weather looks bad coming up, we want to try to have a plan B for sure. And I recommend that with any animal encounter, birthday party, big assembly, whatever it is, school. We want to make sure have a plan B just in case of bad weather, because you never know, it could pour and have hail and then we can't be outside, right? And if that happens, you're probably going to move the date. Now, if you book with us and you're all paid up, and, well, let's go backwards. So when you make your appointment, you're going to put half down minimum to book the appointment. That half down is unfortunately going to be non-refundable. And that is only in the event of a cancellation. If we can both find a solution where we need to move the date slightly somewhere that works for both once in a while and you as the customer, then I will not penalize you on the deposit. Now, if you have to cancel, unfortunately, we're going to have to keep that deposit. That's just part of, our business rules. So, and that's most event companies too. So that is what it is. We have to do something about that. But that rarely happens. But if you, you need to have a plan B, like what I'm saying. So you want to have an indoor and an outdoor option just in case. And so when you book your appointment, say you have already paid all of that, right? Again, we move the date and it works for both of us. It is okay. We just ask that you give us a heads up on all of that. If it's weather related, sickness related, it's a case-by-case basis. That's all I'm going to say about that. But yes, we can definitely adjust. So if we need to move in for weather, great. We can certainly be inside or outside. Whatever is clever is fine. And then everything else is case by case, but we do require a deposit, and it is a non-refundable deposit in the case of a cancellation. I hope that makes sense. So 50% down to book the appointment and reserve your date. Otherwise, you're not going to have that date guaranteed. So a lot of time people will call and they want to pencil in a date and then they pay later. That's okay. But first come, first serve, first person to put their deposit down gets the date solidified. But we always communicate that with you in the booking process. So we do our very best to help you out. How do I book an encounter? So I just talked about this. That's our next question is how do I book an encounter? The best way to contact us is at our number, which is scrolling down below. It's also on our website, onceinawild.com. You can also request a contact at this time to be called back or emailed back to get more information. You would have a chat with myself or I would text you, whatever you prefer, or email you. And I would send you all the pricing information because there's different prices for different things, right? And then we're going to find a date that works for you, talk about what you want to do, all the things, and then we book it. And then I can take your payment and all that, just like any other thing you would pay for. And like I said, half down to book, and then the rest of it is due before the event happens, okay? And then everything is going to be, of course, customized to you. So if you have questions about the event, you want to theme your event, great. We can definitely adjust for you, and we can let you know what would be more appropriate for you, whether it's this type of encounter, or that type of encounter, or these type of animal, or that type of animal. We are 100% for everyone. As long as you like animals and you want to be involved, we have something for you. That's something that we always try to emphasize. Once in a Wild is for everyone. We just have to make sure, to fine tune the details for you, if that makes sense. So very simple, just contact us and we will help you book. Oh, here's another question. How do I book a virtual encounter and what does that entail? So virtual encounters, you're going to book them the same way I just mentioned, which is by contacting us however you want to. And eventually you're going to be chatting with us and then we will book it for you. And we conduct those virtual encounters through Zoom. So those have been a lot less popular lately because everybody's back in person again. But for those clients that are outside of our range of travel, that's still an option for you. We do have several colleges and schools all over the place that do still want animal encounters, just virtually, right? So we can still do that. We conduct those via Zoom. So once you book it, I will create the Zoom in the Zoom application and then send you the link through email. And then you can send the link to all the people that are invited to the Zoom. We usually suggest that it be 40 people or less, but for the larger assemblies, we will make some exceptions as well. And that is going to be a 1-hour Zoom. That's how we start with the pricing. The pricing of that is based on 1 hour, and you actually get to select the animals that join in the Zoom. We can theme it if you have certain curriculums that you're trying to meet for your school, or you just want it to be themed. We had a really cute party one time that was a birthday party, a virtual one for a girl who really liked axolotls, which we specialize in here at Once in a While. We have axolotls in our animal ambassador team, right? And we were able to theme it with axolotls. So we had 2 axolotls and some amphibians and some other animals that they got to mix and match and kind of learn about. They really loved it. That was a lot of fun. I'll never forget that one. And yeah, so that is basically how that works. It's just going to be a Zoom meeting. You guys probably know what a Zoom meeting consists of. It will look very similar to this. So we will have the purple backdrop or whatever backdrop we have in the future for you guys. And it looks very, very similar. So we just kind of meet here in the studio. I'm in a studio right now with our camera and everything set up. And we bring out the animals just like this really similar format. And you can meet up to 5 animals for that 1 hour. And then you can actually add more animals if you would like to for additional fees. Okay. Here's a great question that we get all the time, almost every single time, is can we take photos during our animal encounter? Yes, absolutely. So whether you're doing a meet and greet, a petting zoo, a formal presentation, there will always be time allotted for photos. Of course, you can take photos of me presenting the animal. Even on Zooms, you can take a screenshot if you like. And by the way, for the Zooms, we always record the meeting and send it right back to you so you can watch it again. I think that's a really cool feature that we actually offer. Not everybody offers that on Zoom animal encounters. We record it, and then I send it to you so you can watch it like a movie again, which is really fun. I love that. I would want that as a customer, so I implemented that when we started doing Zooms. So I'm going to scoot over a little bit to make my hand more comfortable. Thank you for bearing with me in this Q&A session, this FAQ session. Thanks, Rango, for being so patient, buddy. So yes, you can absolutely take photos, whether it's a presentation and you just want to take photos of the presenter and the animals up there in front of you, totally fine. If we are at your small gathering, birthday party, whatever it may be, I always allow for photos with the animals if you want to do that. That is totally fine. Even if you're having a formal presentation, absolutely. We're going to take photos with the animals as much as you like. It is your event, so for sure. Now, if it's a big assembly and we're doing a presentation with the animals, what I typically do, for example, we were working with the San Antonio Public Libraries, and we would do like 5 animals in a presentation. And I usually would bring something like this mix. I would bring a boa constrictor, a green iguana, the owl, opossum, and rabbit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that 5? Yes. So 2 mammals, 2 reptiles, and a bird, right? So I usually bring 5 for like a 1-hour presentation. And you can, for a show and tell, by the way, you can do 3 animals, 5 animals, or 8 animals is the maximum that we do for a show and tell. And the 8 animal presentation is typically going to be an hour and a half, more or less. The 5 animal presentation is going to be about an hour, and the 3 animal is usually 45 minutes to an hour. So if you have like smaller kiddos and you still want to show and tell, that's the best option for those smaller kiddos, right? But anyway, so what I usually do for the 5 animal show and tell at a big assembly, I would have the boa constrictor come out first. Oh my gosh, that's a really cool big snake. Really awesome. It's like start off with a bang. And then I would bring out the iguana, which is like an animal you can see from far away because she's so big and she's on the table and yay. And then the owl would typically come out after that. And then the opossum followed by the rabbit, right? So throughout the entire presentation, take as many photos as you like. That does not bother us at all. In fact, take a whole lot of them and tag us on social media. That helps us out quite a bit. But at the very end, typically of a bigger assembly like that, on your way out, I would keep the final animal, usually the rabbit in that case, or something touchable, approachable, something safe, and I would have him out on the table for everybody to pass by in a line on their way out, and they can take all the photos they want with the rabbit and pet the rabbit on their way out and say goodbye. And that's my opportunity as well to meet you guys on the way out. So that's how we typically deal with that aspect of a larger assembly. But of course, if it's your private birthday party or small event like that, photo ops are always going to be allowed for, and you're going to have time with that. If animals are touchable and holdable, we will let you do that as well, even in a presentation. So yes, any type of encounter, photos are encouraged. In fact, tag us, like I said, and there's always going to be time for that for you. That's something that we always provide, okay? If it's a meet and greet or petting zoo, you're going to have a ton of that, right? That's a lot more time, personal time, one-on-one with the animals. So. But even in a presentation, you can absolutely take photos, definitely. We definitely encourage that. Here's a good question. What time do you arrive to an event? And is there extra cost for setup and breakdown? There is no cost for setup and breakdown. Sometimes there is travel cost if you happen to live outside of our kind of range of travel, and that's on a case-by-case basis because gas is sky high right now and probably will be to the end of time. We need to make sure and cover that sometimes. If you happen to be in our kind of 30-minute circle or so near us, we're not going to charge for that. And we are not going to charge for setup or breakdown. It's going to be included in that cost. The cost that we have set our animal encounters at includes setup and breakdown. So what time do you arrive? We always arrive at least 30 minutes prior to your encounter. So if you hired us for a birthday party and we're coming on in at 2 o'clock, that means we would arrive to your home or the site of the party. It could be a clubhouse or a party venue, whatever it may be. We're going to arrive there by 30 minutes early. So if it's 2 o'clock, we're going to be there at 1:30, sometimes even earlier. If you happen to be having a petting zoo animal encounter, that is more setup. And the price is in there. So that's the reason why those are a little more expensive. You'll see if you check out our pricing. So the petting zoos have more setup because there's a fencing situation, there's more tables, there is a pop-up tent involved for shade, blah, 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 blah. So there's more setup there. But any of the encounters, it's at least 30 minutes prior. And if it's a petting zoo or something really large, like a big giant assembly that we're doing and we need to be there early, we like to arrive 45 minutes to an hour early. Now, we will always let you know what to expect. So during your booking process, we'll remind you that, hey, we'll be there at this time to set up. And then, of course, breakdown is afterwards. Breakdown is variable depending on how much we're breaking down. But there's no extra charge for that, okay? But as far as setup, for sure we need to arrive there early because whatever time you booked us for is your time that we are going to start that encounter. Okay, so that is not going to cut into your time. And if for whatever reason life happens, there's traffic, there's something crazy, a car accident on the road, and we're just running behind, we will of course let you know. We will call you and let you know. But also we won't penalize you on time. So say worst case scenario, I'm late to your encounter. Heaven forbid, it hardly ever happens, but it happens every now and then. And say we start 5 minutes late. Well, I'm going to give you that extra 5 minutes at the end, if not more. Okay, I want to make sure you guys get your full time that you paid for. All right, and that is never a problem. Also, I'm not super strict on time anyway. If I do have multiple events and need to be somewhere else, I will let you know. I'm not super duper strict on that, but you know, we always want to be a little bit aware of the amount of time that you've actually purchased. Obviously, you can imagine. Okay. Next question, how far can we travel? So this kind of depends. So it depends on, say I already have another booking and you call me for an extra booking that I need to make and I don't have anybody else that can cover that. I can't necessarily go all over Texas. It's going to depend. So that's a case-by-case basis. But we can go outside of San Antonio. We can go all the way to Austin. We are going to charge for the gas, of course, if we're going a little bit further than our circle of 30 minutes of travel. But in general, we're in San Antonio. So San Antonio and surrounding cities all the way to North Austin would be fine. Case by case basis, we might be able to plan for a trip outside of that area. Just all depends on what the situation is. So if you have more questions about that, I would just contact us and we can talk about your event. It's never the wrong thing to do to ask questions. And if not, then we can provide virtual services, right? We can actually do a Zoom for you if you happen to be outside of our range of travel. So yes. I'm going to check on you guys because I haven't heard any questions out there. If you guys have extra questions, please let me know. I know I'm answering a lot of questions now, but don't be shy. Make sure and leave us a question down below during the live. I would love to see. Okay, let's see. How far can we travel? So it really just depends. And where are we located? That has to do with the last question. We are located in San Antonio, Texas, which is in it's really hot down here. We are in some of the hottest places in the world, South Texas. We are in San Antonio. So that is, South Texas, if you're not familiar with Texas. So we, and I see what's going on with this question, so I have the answer right in front of me. Where are you located? So a lot of people call us and say, hey, how much is it to visit your zoo? Where are you located? What are the directions? We don't have an on-site place to visit yet. So we actually don't have those capabilities yet for you guys to come and visit us. We bring the zoo to you at this time. However, that is something that we're looking to do in the future. That's one of our long-term goals, is to have a facility where we don't only take the zoo to other locations, but you can actually come to visit us as well, maybe within certain times or tours or whatever the case may be that we decide to do, party rooms, etc. We would love to have that very soon. A lot of people ask us that. So right now there is no place for it to come and have the public visit us, but we are working on that goal. Eventually we'll get there, right? So the more you guys support us and help us out, the sooner we can get a zoo for you guys to visit. And we would love to do that. Our kind of goals for that would be like tours, of course, rental spaces, like I mentioned, things like that, classes. But it would be really neat to have like schools visit us and private tours, parties, all kinds of possibilities with a site that you can visit. We will never take away the Zoo to You service, and we will never take away the virtual service as long as you guys still want it. We will provide that, okay? And we will still hopefully be doing live streams and all that too. So it's just something extra. But we are not located anywhere where you can come and visit us yet. Not yet. We operate out of our home, so you might imagine that's a little bit hard to offer private tours into our house. So no. But yes, we are in San Antonio. Oh, here's another question that I kind of already answered, but we'll answer it again. What happens if the weather is bad on the day of my event? Again, we always keep a close eye on the weather. Luckily, we live in the times that we live, and we can keep an eye on the weather apps. However, it's not 100% all the time. We do our very best to watch the weather and prepare for the worst and hope for the best, right? It's just like if you were to plan a wedding or anything else outdoors. If you happen to have an outdoor event, I would recommend highly that you have a plan B indoors. And if we just need to tweak or change your encounter type, we will just do that and help you guys out. We would rather 100% not cancel. So if you have the ability to not cancel, we will just adjust and change your encounter a little bit. But if you do need to move your date, that is fine. If you need to cancel, that 50% is... we keep that, right? That deposit, the 50% down deposit, we do hold on to that. If you cancel, if you move your date, that's a case-by-case basis. And if you need to move indoors, great. We can definitely adjust that as well. Absolutely. So that is what happens if the weather is bad. So we never ever want to put our animals or you guys in harm's way. If there happens to be like inclement or dangerous weather, we're not just going to keep going. We are definitely going to adjust and hopefully move indoors. Luckily with us, one really special thing about Once in a Wild is we can move most of our encounters inside. The only thing that we really can't do is a full petting zoo inside because of the mess and because of the size that we would need. We need about a 12 by 12 of space because it's a 10 by 10 setup and we need a little wiggle room, right? To be able to be safe. So that's a little bit hard to conduct indoors. Not that we haven't done it before. We certainly have done it indoors, but I don't recommend it. So I would recommend having a plan B indoors if the weather looks like it's going to be iffy, and really anyway, just in case you want to move indoors for any reason, and we can adjust and have a meet and greet instead of a petting zoo, okay? Or we can do a show and tell or something like that, or even just a photo op, whatever you would like. All right. All right, weather. Okay, what's the next question? How much does an animal encounter cost? Well, they all are different. Not that I necessarily want to tell you all of our pricing, but our pricing actually on the live stream, if you want to call me, obviously we discussed that. All of our encounters are priced per hour, and including the Zoom. So the Zoom is going to be 1 hour with 5 animals. We can build it up from there. The more animals you add, the more time that's going to be added. So we price it that way. That encounter starts at $225. I'm going to triple check myself. I'm pretty sure it is $225 for the hour. I'm going to quadruple check myself. It's just been a minute since I've charged anybody for a virtual. Yeah, $225 an hour. And then the other encounters start at $325 an hour and go up from there. So that would be like a 3 animal show and tell or a meet and greet with 4 animals. That's where that price is going to start. And then we build it up, and that's going to be per hour. And then of course, plus tax, if you happen to not be tax deductible. For schools and libraries and nonprofits, of course, you don't have to pay the tax. We handle that, any purchase you would do would be tax deductible, right? Or no tax. Excellent question, FAQs. But yes, they're all going to be priced differently, but they are super affordable for what we provide, if I do say so myself. Again, we're not going to charge for travel, setup, or breakdown as long as you're within our travel area. And if you're outside of the travel area, we just charge you for the gas, right? We're not going to charge you for how we set up because that's part of the price. Because we always have to set up, right? So it's not $325 plus $50 for setup. It's never going to be like that. And you'll be very aware of what your cost is going to be before you book. We're gonna discuss that with you, right? And we are doing our very best to get all this stuff on the website very soon. It's just a lot of work, and we're working on that little by little as best we can. So just stay tuned for all these FAQs to be on the website as well. Nobody's talking to me online. Say hello. Don't be shy. You guys have a life outside of Once in a Wild? How dare you? Okay, let's see. Just kidding. All right. Are there any additional fees? This is another question kind of already addressed, but I still get that a lot. No, there's not any additional fees that you will be charged without knowing so, as long as you are not getting the travel fee. If you happen to be further away, that's really the only additional fee, unless you were to purchase some of our merchandise. That's another thing that you can buy. Or if you're adding animals to the list. Say if you did a 5 animal show and tell, but you want to add 1 more, then we would let you know what the cost is for that extra animal, or you can upgrade to the 8 animal show and tell, because that's the next step up. We also offer, I forgot to mention, a Creepy Crawlies animal show and tell, which is 5 animals in the categories of reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates. Those are our creepy crawly animals, really popular during Halloween time. So we do a lot of those. But that's a little bit less cost because the animals tend to be on the smaller side. Reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates tend to be a lot easier to pack up and go. They're smaller, and so it's a little less cost than a standard 5-animal show and tell. Does that make sense? I hope it does. But yeah, are there any additional fees? Only if you add animals. You happen to be outside of our travel zone and there's gas money that we need to add on and extra time. But you would definitely know that. It wouldn't be like, surprise, here's some extra fees. No, that's all going to be included in the price. All right, does that make sense? I hope it does. How do I pay for an encounter? We can take all sorts of different payment options. You can pay with Venmo, Cash App. You can do card. We can take a credit card. We can do checks and cash, of course, in person, things like that. So when you call to book your encounter, we're most likely going to do we're most likely going to take Cash App, Venmo, or credit card over the phone is fine. We can do that. Those are the most common ways to put your deposit down if you want to hold a date. So there are many, many ways to pay. Don't you worry. We take most of those. Not a problem. We take American Express through Square. I just did so yesterday, I believe. A lot of people ask us if we take American Express. Yes, we do. No problem. As long as Square takes it, we take it. Here's a great question that I get all the time as well. Do I get to select the animals for my encounter? Yes. Now, the only exception would be a petting zoo. If you choose to have a petting zoo, that comes with those 5 animals I already listed. So for petting zoos, we're going to have the Pekin ducks. There's 2 of them. We're going to have the Flemish giant rabbit. There's 1 of him. We have 2 guinea pigs that attend, 2 tortoises, which are red-footed tortoises, and 1 bearded dragon. Those are your 5 species that you get included with the petting zoo. Now, the reason we have those 5 species right now as the grouping is because all of those are petable. For a petting zoo, you have to have petable animals, and they're all animals that get along inside of the pen together. Are you washing my hands? He's like, whoa, what are you doing? They all get along inside the petting pen together. They're not going to hurt each other. They're all going to get along and make sense hanging out together in the grass in a pen together, right? So ducks, rabbit, guinea pigs, tortoises, and bearded dragon. All of those are very, very safe to be around each other in general and to be around you. So that's the petting zoo. We also do offer a petting zoo plus. So the petting zoo animals that I just listed, plus you get to choose up to 3 more animals just to meet on the side. So you'll have like a photo op / little meet and greet. Yes, you can attend a petting zoo plus and be a photo op animal. That would be fun. By the way, the owl is not petable. A lot of people do ask if they can pet him. No, he's not safe to pet, but he is safe to pet his feathers. So we do actually usually bring some loose feathers that he has lost. Owls lose their feathers like any other bird. When they molt, yes, you're being so cute. We're almost done, buddy. You're doing so well. Just being a beautiful owl. He is not petable. As far as petting him, there's a feather. But I usually bring some large primary feathers, which are his wing feathers that he's molted, and you get to hold the feathers and touch them. Super safe, and you can feel how soft the owl is. I typically always provide that when I bring the owl over to an event. So I'll bring some feathers so you guys can feel how soft he is on his feathers. Safest way to pet an owl is just by petting a feather. But he could come out to a petting zoo plus and be a photo op animal, something to just kind of see and take photos with or meet and greet. Or you could bring really any of our animals in our collection within reason. It's always case by case with weather and things like that. And the only one I would say that can't come out to a petting zoo plus is probably our cockatiels, because cockatiels have to be indoors because they're flighted. And he's flighted too, but he gets to work on equipment so he can go outdoors and still be safe. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So do you get to choose the animals? Absolutely. For all the rest of the encounters, not a petting zoo, you get to pick whatever animals you want. Say it's a 8-animal show and tell. That means you get to pick 8 species to come and meet. You can even, if it's a 3-animal show and tell, you can add on 1 more and make it 4 animals, or you can upgrade to the 5-animal show and tell and pick any of the animals on our list. Like I said, there's a couple of things you have to keep in mind with outdoors versus indoors. Ducks, the Pekin ducks have to be outdoors because of the mess, and the cockatiels have to be indoors because of their flying ability, and we have to make sure that they're safe. Now, other than that, sky's the limit. You can pick any of those animals to be in your encounter. Yes, you get to select the animal. That is one of the coolest things that we offer is customizable encounters. So you can have all snakes if you want to. I actually did a party a long time ago when we first opened Once in a Wild, right after we were allowed to go back in person again because of COVID and everything. Right after we were allowed to go back in person, somebody just wanted us to come over with I think 8 snake species. So we did all snakes. And that was really, really cool because snakes are my favorite animal. And we actually have 12 snakes. So we were easily able to fill out 8 animals with the 8 snakes. That's hard to say 5 times. But anyways, yes, you can absolutely choose the animals or at least request the animals that come out and visit. Now keep in mind, it's real live animals. These guys are alive. So things may happen to where maybe they don't feel like working that day or something, they're just, not feeling it. Lots of stuff can happen, lots of factors. For example, a snake. So if you request David Boa and I go to actually see how David is doing the previous day before your encounter. Oh my gosh, David has just gone into shed. Snakes in shed are very cranky. So we're probably not going to suggest that we have David Boa at your event if you don't, if you've requested him. But we can bring another snake instead. So we tend to have a lot of animals that are duplicated. We only have one owl. So if he decides he's just absolutely not having it, I will let you know and apologize very much. I'll apologize on his behalf. He acts like that. But sometimes animals are just not in the mood. It happens a lot. We do our very best to make sure our animals are trained for this sort of thing and usually want to participate. But if animals don't want to participate, we're not going to force them. That being said, that's the only kind of exception. If you request an animal and it's just not working out that day, we'll let you know and be like, hey, we're going to bring this animal instead. Is that okay? But in general, it almost always works out where people get the animals that they request. And you can certainly request the animals that you would like to meet because I know not everybody likes the same things. Like me, I like everything, right? But if you are not big into snakes or bugs, then you can request that there's no snakes and bugs. You can pick all mammals if you want to. For all I care. Yes, definitely. You can definitely select the animals and request the animals. That is pretty cool, huh? Are animal encounters safe for all ages? Yes. Once in a Wild is very safe. We've had 0 incidents since we opened up with the safety of our guests, for sure. And that is because we're always keeping animal safety and human safety in mind throughout all of our different types of encounters. Even the more hands-on encounters like petting zoos and meet and greets where you're petting the animals or meeting the animals up close, 0 incidents. So we are extremely safe. We're always there with you, with the animals to make sure everybody's safe. The animals matter too, right? And yes, if we bring out animals like the owl, for example, or the iguana, or something non-touchable like the opossum, we're not going to have touching of that animal because it's just not safe. It's not safe for the animals and it's not safe for you to be doing that. So we're not going to allow that. But the animals that are safe to touch, sure, we can definitely allow for that. And we've got different encounters for different ages that we recommend, and we've got different encounters for different sizable groups like I've already talked about, right? So for example, if you have mostly little children, we do a lot of work at daycares. Daycares actually hire us quite a bit. Typically we'll do a meet and greet. So it's something more casual where the kiddos can come up and pet the rabbit up on the table. Oh my gosh, cute rabbit, cute picture, everybody's happy. Or we can do a 3 animal show and tell to keep it nice and brief, 30 minutes to 45 minutes, sometimes with these little daycare aged kiddos, right? Depending on the kids, right? Every kid's different. But in general, they don't have as long of an attention span as like 6 and up. So 6 and up do very, very well with a longer show and tell for 5 to 8 animals, right? But a shorter show and tell is okay for daycare, and a meet and greet or petting zoo even is great for little kiddos as well. So yes, we have something for everybody, even older people, right? So we visit nursing homes and all sorts of different situations like that. Lots of birthday parties have all ages. They have grandmas and grandpas, moms and dads, kiddos of all ages, and we can certainly accommodate all of that. Your program might look a little bit different if it's mostly little kiddos, right? I won't be talking about the same things as I would adults, but if you've got mixed ages, yes, we can definitely do that too. I hope that makes sense. Super safe, definitely safe, and appropriate for all ages, for everyone. And we're accessible to everyone. We can come and bring the animals to you. How cool would it be to have the owl come on out to your house? And you'd be able to see him up close, take pictures with him, learn about him, of course. You're always going to learn something with Once in a Wild. That's something that makes us a lot different than other petting zoos and mobile zoos. Most of them nowadays are very educational, but we're not just a petting zoo. We're actually an education business. We're rooted in animal education. We want to make sure you learn something each and every time you come out, that we come out to visit you. Hopefully you'll come out to visit us sometime. Okay, so do I have to have children to book an animal visit? I think you know the answer to that one. You don't have to have children to book with Once in a Wild. We're for every age. We can accommodate all ages. So even if you're just having like an adults only party where you're having your drinks and your fun times, yes, we can definitely bring animals out to those events too and have photo ops or something casual, or we can do a whole show and tell for you if you would like. I actually had a lady one time book us for her birthday, and she was turning 30 something and she absolutely loved it. She booked it just like if she was a big kid. She booked all the animals that she wanted to see. There were kids at the party, but it was her party. So absolutely, you don't have to have children. It's not just for children. We're for everyone. We have information for all sorts of ages. I'm talking too fast, you guys, and I'm so excited. We have information for all sorts of ages. And we've got something for all sorts of ages too. So we just did a really fun photo op for a drag brunch the other day, actually, and it was just adults. It was at a bar, and we were outside the bar, and we just had our snakes out there for a Britney Spears themed drag brunch. That was a lot of fun, and the guests got to come out in between the shows and kind of like intermission and before the show, and I think after the show too, to take photos with our boa constrictor and some of our other snakes. So yes, adults can certainly book a visit. I highly encourage it. We are definitely not going to judge you. I myself am an adult, believe it or not, pushing almost 40, and I have built my life around this business. So absolutely, I would certainly book this for myself. So you should too. It's for everyone. Anyone of every age. That's a great question though. Here's another one. Where do the animals live? How are the animals cared for, and where do you get your animals? Well, of course, every single animal has their own story. Like I think I already mentioned earlier in the live stream, but I'll say it again. Every animal has their own story, and the majority of our animals are rehomed to us, rescued, or some sort of hand-me-down situation. But we also have animals that we have looked for from reputable breeders or different situations like that. Maybe a friend had an animal. You name it, it has happened to us. So when you have animals and you start becoming well known, then people call you all the time and say, hey, can you take so-and-so animal? Or I've got these animals. Can you help me find a home for them? The answer is always yes. I can definitely help you find a home for them. I can't always take the animals because when we dedicate taking in an animal, we dedicate that to them. We're not going to rehome them after that. So we have to make sure that the animal is going to thrive with us, is going to be able to stay with us and actually be able to be an animal ambassador in some capacity. Even if the animals, by the way, don't like coming out for shows. I've got several animals that do not do well in shows that live here with us at Once in a Wild, but they still get a permanent home with us. They still get to be an animal ambassador, maybe on videos, live stream sometimes. Some of the animals do a lot better in the studio, like right here, than they do going off site to different places. Not every animal likes doing that, right? So some of the animals don't do that, and that is okay. They still get a safe, permanent home with Once in a Wild, which is one of our differences between us and like a traditional zoo. Our animals stay with us once they come and live with us, almost like an animal rescue facility. Now, we're not just an animal rescue facility, but we are partially, right? So that is how some of the animals come to live with us. Some of them are from responsible breeders or different situations. For example, our rabbit, our Flemish giant rabbit, came from a very reputable Flemish giant rabbit breeder, and that's where we got him. When we got him, we wanted to build our collection at the time, so we needed a rabbit that would be suitable for animal programs, and he certainly is. He's the perfect rabbit for that. So it kind of just depends, but the majority of our animals are some sort of rehoming situation. Rango actually came from another facility where they were looking to downsize on their educational bird collection. So that's how he ended up with us. And we were happy to adopt him, right? He's doing very well. Where do the animals live? They all live with us here in our home situation. So we are home-based, like I think I mentioned already. That is where we live. We live on our home. And our animals also live in our home or on site with us. That is something that I would love to continue no matter how large we get. Maybe we have different facilities, but in general, I would like to keep the majority of the animals living at least on site with us. That way, for safety purposes, we can always be around for safety, for security, things like that. Or at least very nearby so we can come and check on things and whatnot. That's just the life that I want. So take it or leave it. But yes, they live on site with us. So we are with them all the time as long as we're home. And there are also other staff that take care of our animals in different shifts for husbandry. And the staff also occasionally help us on animal programs. And me and Ricky, myself, Amanda, and Ricky are the founders and owners of the company. We also do a lot of the work with Once in a While too. So they have a lot of care going on all the time. Husbandry pretty much 24 hours a day in 2 different shifts. And of course, overnight, everybody's sleeping or up like he is. But yes, they're very well taken care of, if I do say so myself. How do they live? It depends on the animal. Every animal has an appropriate enclosure for them, right? He actually has a very large outdoor enclosure that's walk-in size. It's a 6.5 foot high, 8 wide, and 16 deep enclosure, and it's halfway covered and halfway roofed, so he can have a little bit of sunshine and a little bit of cover, or a lot actually. That's how owls like it. They like to be kind of covered during the day so they can sleep, and they like to come out and fly around at night and look around a little bit. And there's different ways to keep owls. That's not the only way to house them, right? But that works for him really well. And every other animal has their own enclosure, of course, that is appropriate for them. Our rabbit, for example, I keep talking about him tonight for some reason. Our rabbit has his own room. He shares the room with our small birds, our hedgehogs, guinea pigs, and things like that. But the guinea pigs, hedgehogs, and the birds have their own enclosures within the room, and then he gets the entire floor space all the time. The rabbit is big, so he needs a big space, and rabbits should have a big space regardless of small or large for their care. They do far better like that. They go in a litter box, and they do really well. He is a very, very, very easy rabbit to care for, and he is so good, and we love him. But he has a very large space to live in. And then the birds actually are out during the day, and then they just get put up at night in that same room. And then the guinea pigs and hedgehogs have their own kind of space that's up on like an elevated area. So if that makes sense. But everybody, the reptiles, most of the reptiles all live separately. There's a couple amphibians and a couple reptiles that share a little bit of space, but most reptiles and amphibians in general like to be by themselves. So everybody's got their own enclosure. The roaches live together. Our Madagascar hissing roaches live together in an enclosure. But every animal species and every animal has their own enclosure. Oh, the ducks live together, of course, because they're ducks and they're social. The 2 different species of ducks that we have each have a friend, and they live together. So it just kind of depends. Some animals are social, of course, and some are not. But they all have appropriately sized enclosures. They're not just running around in the home willy-nilly, right? Everything's super safe. We do try to keep it as clean and sanitized as possible. When you have as many animals as we have in our collection, it kind of operates in one big system, something that we're very used to. So one of these days you'll be able to visit us and see how it goes. That'll be a lot of fun. Okay, so that is in a nutshell that answer to that question, which is where the animals live, how they are cared for, and where we get them. And every animal, if you have a once in a wild encounter and you want to ask specific questions about whatever animal is visiting you, you can ask us. You can say, where did you get Ringo? Where did you get Sandor? Where did you get Joanna? How did they come into your care? Feel free to ask. We're not shy. We don't mind telling you. Every single animal has their own story, and that goes for your animals at home too, right? It's really cool that people want to know that sort of thing. They want to make sure these animals are well taken care of, that we care about them, etc. They want to make sure that we're reputable, and I totally respect that. That's a great question. Okay, moving on. What kind of licenses do we have? We've got some licenses. We have to with this sort of business to be able to be operational, and especially visiting the public up close, especially with mammal species. Mammals are very, very regulated by the USDA. And we also have some licensing with Texas Parks and Wildlife as well. So we do have our licenses, and we are fully insured for your safety as well, and the safety of everybody. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to say about this. If you happen to be a company, business, or park or something like that requires insurance proof, we can certainly send you the proof of insurance, not a problem. Schools, a lot of times need that as well, of course. We will help you out to make sure that you're aware that we are legit. And all that stuff is definitely part of the hardest part about opening up this business was getting all the licenses aligned. It's like the stars have to align for you to be able to be in an animal business, especially an animal business where the public visits you. But anything with mammals, mammals, yes. Birds and reptiles and amphibians, creepy crawlies, all those guys aren't nearly as regulated as mammals are. And that's usually because of diseases and things like that, or just because for some reason birds don't qualify for that. I don't know why, because birds can also pass diseases and so can other animals. But regardless, the USDA is what most people have to get which is the United States Department of Agriculture, to the newbies out there. USDA is something that all mammal facilities have to have. Even if you're a dog breeder or a cattle ranch or anything, you have to have USDA certification. And that's typically like a yearly inspection. Could be surprise inspections. We've had some of those as well and always done very well. It's never been a problem to pass their regulations and inspections. They've been very good to us. And we'd be good to them too. Are you a nonprofit organization? At this time, we are not a nonprofit organization. We are actually what we call an LLC. So for now, we are not. We may change in the future. We may add on a nonprofit in the future, so just stay tuned. There are pros and cons to LLCs versus nonprofits. So if you guys want to know, no, we are not. We are not a nonprofit, but maybe someday. We shall see. Here's a great question, and I appreciate this question very much. Can I leave a tip for the staff during the animal encounter? Absolutely, you can leave a tip. All of the proceeds that are left donation-wise go to animal care, but you can certainly tip your animal handler that you really like at your birthday party or whatever. Oh, we're on Instagram. We're back. Hooray. So yes, if you have a great birthday party and you've had the best experience ever and you just want to tip the staff, absolutely go for it. Please leave a cash tip, or you can tip us via Venmo or Cash App, anything at all. You can definitely leave tips. That's 100% okay. Of course. And another great way to help us out is by taking the photos and tagging us too, right? Lots and lots of pictures. Please tag us in the pictures on Instagram and whatnot. But yes, you can definitely leave tips. As big as you want to tip, we will accept. And all those proceeds goes to animal care or helping our staff and things like that. So it's going to a very good cause, I promise you. That helps us out quite a bit. How else can I help the animals? I'm so glad you asked. Donations can be made in cash, Venmo, Cash App. We have a PayPal too. I don't use it as often as the other two, but we also have an Amazon wish list as well on our onceinawild.com website. Amazon wish list has a bunch of items you can ship us for the animals that we've selected. And we even have a Patreon account where you can actually sponsor the animals as well. Let me know if you're more interested in that. And if you have any questions about that, just contact us, okay? But absolutely, you can definitely help. You can also help in the ways that I've already told you at the beginning of the live stream, which is by watching our videos, following us on social medias. They're all over the place. Commenting down below, sharing the videos, and talking to your friends and family about us, and leaving positive reviews on Google reviews, Facebook reviews, leaving all the stars and a great compliment about us. That helps us out quite a bit for other people that are new to us to see on Yelp and things like that, if they want to hire us or not. That helps out any small business, by the way. That's a great free way. If you've had a good experience with any small business, please leave a Google review, 5-star review if you can, and leave a compliment and let people know that you loved it. And leave pictures and whatever else. All right, what can I expect from a show and tell animal encounter? I already described this, but I will do it again. A show and tell animal encounter is basically a class. So you can choose a 3-animal, a 5-animal, or a 8-animal show and tell. You get to pick the animals that you want to meet and learn about. And what you will be experiencing is basically just that, a show and tell, where the animals come on out one by one with the presenter. The presenter is going to talk about the animals. You're going to learn about them. Maybe we take a few questions, and then that first animal goes away, and the second animal comes out, and we do the same thing again, and so on and so forth with however many animals that you've hired us for, right? So it's a show and tell. So it's a formal presentation. Usually requires a bit of attention span, so we recommend 6 and up for that presentation, or at least mixed ages. If you have a birthday party, we can do that for you, not a problem. But 6 and up do the best with that because they have to sit still and listen and things. And for under 6 years old, we recommend a meet and greet over a show and tell, okay? And that's how it's going to go. And then, again, you can still get to touch the animals and take photos with the animals if it's an appropriate animal to do that with. Always photos. And the next question is just that. Do I get to touch the animals? If you've hired us with animals that are touchable, then yes, you get to touch the animal. We will always allow for time for that with the animals that are safe for humans to touch, if that makes sense. So yes, we can always allow for that. If you have a party and I've done a show and tell for you, and you want say it's a ball python, you want the ball python to come back out again for more touching and holding time. Oh my goodness. That's much better. Thank you for adjusting. That makes my hand feel better too. Makes you better. It makes me better. We're almost done. You're doing so well. He is such a good owl, isn't he? I think he's so good. So yes, if you are hired us for a show and tell and we're going through the animals one by one, usually during the show and tell, I'll pass the animal by and let you pet the animal if it's a petable animal, right? But if you want a photo with that animal afterwards, or you want to hold the ball python afterwards, for example, sure, I'll bring him back out and we can allow time for that right before I go or whatever. Yes, you can. You can touch the animals if they're touchable animal. When I send you the animal list, I will typically show you on the list which animals are touchable. So it's super clear, okay? Some great examples of that are the Flemish giant rabbit, the guinea pigs, ball pythons, bearded dragon, tortoises. Most of our snakes in general are great for that. Who else, Rango? Not you. You're not touchable, but your feathers are touchable. So we bring feathers for you guys to touch and hold. If you want to hold a feather in a photo, go for it. We did that at our Harry Potter themed event not too long ago. What other animals are touchable? There's a lot more. Ducks. The ducks are touchable. All right. And there's many more as well. You just let me know what you're interested in and I'll help you out. What can I expect during a petting zoo? I already described this as well, but that's going to be typical petting zoo experience. So if you've ever been inside of a petting zoo, but if you haven't, I will tell you how it goes. So that's going to be an outdoor experience most of the time. We require some sort of absorbent surface to place our whole scenario on. I'm describing this terribly, Amanda. So we will bring out a petting zoo. We'll bring our equipment, which includes a fence. It's like a pop-up fence that we set up. Very lightweight fence, so we set it all up. And we have a pop-up tent for shade and comfort of the animals and you. And we will set all that up in about a 10 by 10 amount of space, but we usually require a 12 by 12. That way we have some wiggle room to operate, right? And be nice and safe. And we will have animals inside the petting zoo, including the Pekin ducks, the bearded dragon, the Flemish giant rabbit, tortoises, and guinea pigs. And those animals get along really well, so we can put them in the pen together. You can take turns coming on in with your family, or kiddos can take turns. Older kiddos can be in there by themselves. Younger kiddos must be with a family member at all times for supervision to make sure everybody's safe. But we will take turns coming into the petting zoo, petting the animals, of course, being near them, taking pictures with them, and then the next family gets to take a turn, the next person gets to take a turn, and whatnot. And there's always staff with you to make sure the animals are safe, that you're safe, that everything's going smoothly, opening the door for you, all of that stuff. And that is part of the price as well. That is what a petting zoo entails. So typically we're going to ask for a grassy shaded area to set up on. We have a 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 really amount of space. And we can come on into your backyard or park or whatever you have, school. And that is how a petting zoo goes. So a petting zoo is just that. It's a little area where you can come on in with the animals, pet them, be next to them. It's not super formal. It's more casual, come and go, and great for larger festivals and things like that, where we take turns, or parties too, whatever you would like. We've also done that a lot for daycares and younger kids at school too. And it's for adults too. It's not just for little kids, by the way. Adults love it just as much. So that's a petting zoo. What can I expect from a meet and greet? What is a meet and greet? Well, a meet and greet is usually a tabletop type encounter. So we'll set up a couple of tables typically. Are you about to go potty? No. Okay. If you are, I would like to hold you away from the table. But if it happens, right? Animals go potty sometimes. I thought he was, but he was just adjusting again. We're almost done, buddy. You're doing so well. But what can I expect from a meet and greet? So a meet and greet is usually a couple of tables set up with our table covers on them, and we'll have the animals that you choose on the tabletops, or if it's like Rango, we'll just hold him for you so you can come up and see him. Meet and greets are great for photo opportunities and sometimes petting opportunities. So if you pick the rabbit and the guinea pigs, for example, you can come on up and pet them. What's the main difference between the meet and greet and the show and tell? Show and tell is a formal presentation where you're going to have a seat, listen to a presentation with the animals coming on out one by one with the handler. A meet and greet is more of a display. So you'll have the animals kind of out for you to come on up and approach and pet if it's appropriate, take pictures with certainly, and ask questions in a casual way, kind of come and go. It almost operates kind of like a buffet. You're going to have like a little line, especially if it's a big crowd, and just taking turns approaching the animals. Very casual, much better for smaller kiddos, or just something if you just want something more casual and you don't want to sit there and listen to me talking or the handler talking the whole time, right? You can ask your questions, kind of just have a natural conversation about the animals, right? And that's a lot more, I would say, it's just more appropriate for younger kiddos because they're not going to sit still as as likely, right? Every kid is different, but you let me know. So that's what a meet and greet is. Much more casual. We can set up a meet and greet indoors or outdoors if the weather is nice. The petting zoo is going to be outdoors only most of the time. And a show and tell can be indoors or outdoors, and a meet and greet can be indoors or outdoors. Great question. What makes what makes a once in a wild experience different from other petting zoos? I'm just going to read to you the answer here. We are very, guys, I'm going to start over. What makes once in a wild, I did it again. What makes a once in a wild experience different from other petting zoos? Well, we're not just a petting zoo, number one. We are a very unique company. Our mission is to inspire others to change the world through live animal experiences. Our animal encounters are appropriate for people of all ages. And we pride ourselves in being extremely accessible for anyone to enjoy. That's awesome, right? We also always prioritize animal and human safety throughout each of our bookings. And most importantly, Once in a Wild is rooted in education, like I mentioned before. Whether you book a show and tell, meet and greet, or petting zoo, you're sure to learn something about our amazing animal ambassadors from our educated and experienced staff members. So that's the main difference right there. Whatever encounter you actually choose, you're going to learn something about the animals, and you're going to hopefully appreciate the animals more because of that mission that we have to inspire others to make a difference through live animal experiences. So that's the main difference there. And not every encounter is going to be super formal. You could have something as casual as a petting zoo or meet and greet, but you're still going to be able to ask questions about the animal ambassadors. They're still being ambassadors for their species, so we can help you learn something and appreciate animals. And we're always keeping safety in mind. Our animals matter very, very much to us, so we want to make sure that they're safe, and we want to make sure that you, the client, is safe as well. Will the animal encounter be very messy? We do our very best to be as mess-free as possible. It's never completely 100% mess-free because some animals shed their hair or feathers. Some animals go to the bathroom, and we can't prevent that, but we try our very best to make it as mess-free as possible. For example, if we come on into your home and you have carpet and we have the owl or a cockatiel or something that may go to the bathroom during the encounter, we're going to lay a mat down and make sure that that mess goes on the mat. And we will take the mat away with us, and we will make sure and clean up any mess that you have that we've left there. If there's hair, we will sweep it up or vacuum it up if you want us to. Whatever you need us to do. Of course, if it's outside, not a big deal, right? So if we have the ducks over at your home, we're going to be outdoors, and we can even spray that down and make sure there's no more mess for you. We try to be as mess free as possible. We are very, very good at that. I've actually had a lot of compliments on how mess free our animal encounters are, and we will always make sure with you that way you're aware. We'll make sure to tell you that there could be a mess or there could not be a mess, but we always do our very best to cover the floor, etc., and things like that. And even if you are, say you're holding one of our bearded dragons or tortoises or guinea pigs in your lap for an animal therapy session, because we do allow for that. We will always put a mat in your lap as well, it's basically a bath mat, and we fold it over to make sure there's padding there. That way, if we have a little accident, it's on the pad and not on you, right? Not on your dress or lap or anything at all, your pants. So we're doing our very best to be as clean as possible. And most of our animals are on the smaller side, so it's easy to keep them contained up on a tabletop or something. For example, tortoises. When tortoises are presented indoors, we usually have them in some sort of situation on hay. We'll have a container of hay and put them in the hay. That way, if they go potty, it's in there and not in your home. If that makes sense. So we do our very, very best to be as mess-free as possible. It's never 1,000%, but I would say 90% mess-free. All right. There's just a couple more, and then we're all done. You guys have been a very quiet audience. I hope you're still out there. Oh, you are. You are asking questions, so I will address those at the end. Do you visit schools, daycares, and libraries? Of course we do. You guys know that. We do all sorts of different animal programs for schools, daycares, and libraries. That could be a presentation, show and tell. That could be a meet and greet, or even a petting zoo or animal therapy session. Just photo op, whatever you would like. Certainly, we do that all of the time, indoors or outdoors. No problem. What kind of animals do you have? That's the last question I have on this list. What kind of animals do we have? We have so many different animals. We've got over 100 individual animals in our collection. We've got about 50 or 60 species. I can't remember the last time I counted all the species. There's so many species, and we have so many to choose from. We've got birds, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates. So we've got creepy crawlies, soft and furries and feathery animals too. Something for everyone. If you want to mix and match, that's always a lot of fun. That's my favorite type of encounter, to have like different types of animals, so I can tell you different types of information about all sorts of critters. And yeah, and we kind of go from there. But yes, we have all kinds of different animals. Like I said, over 100 individuals. So, and that includes our Madagascar hissing cockroaches, all of our reptiles, all of our invertebrates like tarantulas and scorpions and things like that. Madagascar hissing cockroaches are in the category of invertebrates, aren't they? Last week we met one of our scorpions on the show. So that is all the FAQs I have. We might come up with more, but that's all I have on this list. I'm gonna see if you guys have any questions here on the stream. Those of you that are actually watching the show live, thank you so much for joining us. If you're just now turning on the live stream, my name is Amanda. This is Rango, our Eurasian Eagle Owl. He's hanging out with me, and we're almost finished for the night. But today we were actually addressing some frequently asked questions that we're going to be shortly posting on our website pretty soon. But I wanted to address some of those because it's a great talking point, and it's questions that people ask us all the time. But Rango's hanging out, and I've talked about him at the beginning of the program. If you guys have any questions about him, let me know if you're watching. And we'll be closing in just a little bit because it's already 8 p.m. and we are live. Somebody was asking, is that your Patronus? My Patronus? That's a great question. I don't know if anybody has an owl for a Patronus, but owls are usually just messengers in the Harry Potter world. Patronus is actually like kind of your guardian animal. Excuse me, if you have an owl Patronus, please let me know. I'm sure there's somebody that has one. My Patronus is actually a white stallion, a horse. This tells you a little bit about my energy, my inside energy. I am actually House Slytherin, and my Patronus is a white stallion. How about you guys? Do you guys have a Patronus that you know of? Do you know your Harry Potter Hogwarts house? Ooh, the audience. What is your house? I feel like you give me what vibes? Yeah, maybe Ravenclaw vibes for Rango. I think his Patronus might be a what would your Patronus be? Maybe something like a Ravenclaw. Patronus might be, what is your energy? A fat cat? A house cat? Sure. All right. Mine is a white stallion. That's mine. It's gonna be okay, son. That's an inside joke, but thank you for telling me that. Here's a good question. Ferrets can't be pet? The white one is so cute. Our ferrets are adorable. Our ferrets are also not petable. So for one thing, ferrets actually can contract and deliver human diseases. So that's a kind of a new thing with ferret rules. Some mobile zoos may still allow ferret petting or interactions with their guests. We have chosen not to do a ton of that, especially now with so many diseases going around. It's not fun. But also our ferrets are holistically raised, and they were from breeders. They're not from mills like a lot of the pet store ferrets are. Our ferrets are very healthy, very, very crazy, a lot more wild, and they do bite sometimes. So we definitely don't want to have you guys get bitten. They're also potentially a rabies vector animal. And if that happens in your business as a mobile zoo, that is very, very bad. So we do not want any incidents to happen. Our ferrets can, of course, be seen very up close. We can present them in our hands and show you very up close. You can certainly take a picture with them standing next to us, all of that, but it's in a very controlled manner because our ferrets do sometimes bite. It hasn't happened in a while, but I have been bitten by our ferrets, and other people have been bitten by our ferrets, taking care of them, not guests, but people taking care of them. They don't mean any harm. They're just crazy boys. They are super duper strong. They're very, very, very healthy ferrets. They're actually raised on raw meat. They have not been neutered early, so they're very different than mill-raised ferrets. And even mill-raised ferrets from Marshalls and from pet stores can still bite too. So that's actually something we've chosen to not allow. But ferrets are great animals for a show and tell. You can learn a lot about them. Our ferrets are very large and very impressive. We have a white one and a dark one named Thor and Loki, and they're very popular. They do not handle the heat very well, so they haven't been doing a ton of summertime encounters, but they do a lot of indoor stuff. But no, we have chosen not to allow petting with our ferrets. If you knew our ferrets, you would understand why. They're very tenacious. They are not to be trusted by the average person. Not that they're not great, they're just extremely different than most ferrets that I've known in the past. So we are very careful with that. All right. I'm not sure what just happened, but hopefully we're back. Let me know if we're back on most of the social media. Okay, let's see. Buffering. You guys are being silly out there. Are you going to do any public events? That's a great question. Yes, Once in a While does a lot of public events, and when we get them, we post them at onceinawild.com. The one coming up soon is going to be our Labor Day event, 2 days in a row over at the San Antonio Market Square, the downtown Market Square, the historic Market Square. Go to onceinawild.com. We have that posted on the homepage, and you can learn more about the times for that, what's going to be happening. We're going to have some animals out there for photo ops and a meet and greet. Depending on the weather, we're going to select what animals come out and visit, because if it's too hot or raining or whatever, only certain animals tolerate all of that. Where are your graphics? I chose to not include the graphics because I wanted to have the scrolling information down below because I'm talking about a lot of that. Sorry. We'll have it next time. No hairless animals? No hairless animals yet? We have some hairless animals. This is a hairless animal right here. Did you know that? Oh, hairless mammal. Hairless mammals? Why are you talking about hairless mammals? This is an interesting question, Ricky. Hairless animals? Yes, this is actually a hairless animal. This animal has 0 hair. He's covered in feathers, but not hair, is he? That's funny. Hairless mammals. Like what? What would you like? No mammal is truly hairless. Even dolphins are born with hair. Did you know that? Dolphins are mammals. In the category of mammals, they have to have this criteria. They have to be warm-blooded and not cold-blooded. They have to, what else? Feed milk to their babies. And they have to have hair at some point in their lifetime. Dolphins and whales have a mustache when they're born most of the time, like little whiskers. And then they fall out, usually, when they become a little bit older. That is to help them, in theory, to find the milk by sense of touch. That's what whiskers are for. Well, me and Rango are probably about ready to say goodbye. He's ready to party all night because he's a nocturnal animal, and I'm semi-nocturnal as well, so I'm probably going to keep working. But it's been a lot of fun. You guys have been really quiet out there tonight, but that is okay. I hope you learned something from our FAQ session, and I hope you enjoyed seeing Rango again on the program. He is such a beautiful owl, if I do say so myself. Rango is a very popular animal coming up lately for fall time. Lots of Harry Potter events, lots of Halloween events. If you guys want a Halloween or Harry Potter themed party, we are the zoo for you. We have all kinds of creepy crawlies for Harry Potter, especially. We've got the owl, of course. Ooh, you, buddy. We've got the owl. We've got a white ferret, just like Malfoy was turned into a ferret, right? We've got a bullfrog. We've got tarantulas. We have all kinds of snakes, including a large one and some small ones, too. We've got a dragon or two. We've got all kinds of animals that can be themed for Harry Potter. If you would like something like that, please let me know. If you have bugs, we can set all that up for you, and you'll have the best party ever. Or if you want something Halloween themed, all those animals I just listed, fantastic for Halloween events as well. We're very popular during October and fall time, so please book very soon for that. If you book something over 3 hours, we also offer a 15% off discount of your entire cost. That's something I forgot to mention on our FAQs. I should probably add that as well. But for 3 hours or more, or 3 bookings purchased at the same time or more, we can offer you a 15% discount. So please let us know if you're interested in any of that. Rango is ready to go party. I'm ready to say goodnight. So I think it's time for us to say see you later. And I hope you join us next week. Same time, same place. Once in a Wild Wednesday, every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time across social media. Whichever social media you love, we're on it. So please follow us, share the videos, like, comment, leave us some compliments, leave us a 5-star review if you like what you see here, even if it's just a virtual experience and you enjoyed it. Leave a 5-star review on Google or Facebook or wherever you leave reviews. Leave a compliment as well. And if you'd like to book your own animal encounter, like I said, please let us know. And we shall see you guys next week. Bye. We are nothing 'cause we're ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. I wanna hear you say once in a while. That's the fun for me and you. Okay, you guys, there's the graphics. Ricky. All right, you guys, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody. Oh, goodbye.